Hello, I'm Li Hao. So for the past few days, I've been cleaning up Svelte GitHub issues. I'm not sure I clean up all of them, but I've gone through a few of them, make some changes, add some PRs and things like that. And while I was doing it, I was thinking that maybe some of you may be interested in this kind of videos, like how do I actually go through Svelte issues and how do I fix them. So, but at the same time, you wouldn't want me to see me combing through them because it's very boring. Basically, I'm like doing it intermittently. I like look through some issues and then maybe wander off watching some YouTube videos and then come back again, or maybe go for a toilet break, snack break, and things like that. But I decided to record it on my screen, just the screen, and I try to trim some of the pieces together and do some voiceover across them. So here are they. I've made a few videos, so this is the one that you're watching now is one of them. And yeah, so I see how many of them actually made it through. And if you like this kind of videos, you know what to do. Smash the like button so that YouTube algorithm knows that this is a good video and they'll suggest to more people to watch, and good for me as well, so that I know that you are really interested to this kind of video. Then I'll try my best to do more of this kind of videos, right? So that's it. Enjoy the video. So let's take a look at this issue over here. Input type range bound value 0 is omitted from SSR. So it says that if you have angle that is 0, then when you try to build for the SSR, you realize that the server-side rendered HTML for the input tag does not have value. So 0 is expecting value equals 0 somewhere at the attribute over here for this input element, but it's not there. Okay, seems like workaround is making 0 as a string. Okay, so it's an issue raised a year ago, May 2020. No one's solving it. Let's take a look at how we're gonna fix this. First of all, yeah, it sounds like a bug. It is already a triage as a bug label. So I guess what I'm going to do here is play around. Is it just like for the type input type range? Is it like working for maybe like a normal input text, or maybe type equals number, because number type number input you can have 0 as a value, right? Does that work for a server-side rendering case? If it works, then maybe we can see that whether is there a special flag that was added for like a type number but not for type range, and we're gonna add that, right? But I can't say for sure, so we have to try that out. So first is, what I usually love to do is I'm gonna set something up like this, where I have my Svelte project where they set up a lot of like a if you take a look over here, I have a lot of files usually copy pasted from like GitHub issues and questions, and I already have like set up basic rollup. So these are being copied over from, this is setups using the Svelte template, and you see that I have a lot of commented stuff where when I want to for SSR, I want a normal. If I want DOM is this, I'm gonna switch for SSR. Sometimes I turn off for CSS, or sometimes I turn on for custom elements, hydration, development build, things like that, right? So it's handy for me to have this setup, and I install all the necessary dependencies, and most of all, I set up npm link to link the Svelte version in this project to my local clone of the Svelte. So whenever I change something and I come up here over build, it's always the latest version of Svelte, or rather like the latest local version of Svelte, right? So I can make changes in the Svelte repo, build it, and then come over here and play around with the build and take a look at it, whether it fixes this case or not, what needs to be fixed, and I can tweak it myself, right? So So let me just copy. I think. Let's see, what should I copy? Okay, so reproduce. You use this repo, and only change you need to do is in this file, source vis.svelte. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here, source vis.svelte. Change the angle, right? So I think what I need is, sorry about the plane. Meanwhile, I'm gonna copy. I'm not sure you can hear the plane sound. So I'm gonna copy this. Okay, bind value angle. I'm gonna say script. Let angle equals to 0. I guess that's all, right? Let's try it out. Okay, I'm at build. So here in my main file, I'm importing from this server-side rendering, and I have console log to render out. So when I build for server-side, I'm doing this. If I'm building for client-side, I'm going to do this, right? So let's try and see. So I'm going to build, yarn build. Okay, and now I'm going to execute my bundle. So inputs type range, min, max, steps, no value, right? Okay. Let's try to change something. So if I have my, say, angles to 10, let's try and build. Oh, sorry. Let's try and build this and run again. Okay, so you see value equals to 10. So obviously it's working for value, but not for 0, right? So 0 is a special case. So 0 maybe because it's 0, or maybe it's falsy. I don't know. So let's try set back to 0, but let's change this to number, right? So, you know, number, it's also taking like numeric number. So maybe that works. Okay, let's try build. Run it. Okay, damn. So for it's not working for type equals number as well, right? So maybe this is because it's binding, right? Let's try maybe remove this bind value equals angle. Let's try this and see what how it be like. So I'm gonna build, and let's try. Okay, so if it's not binding like a normal attributes, then this will be there, right? You have a value that is correct, but if it's binding, that's not. Yeah, so I think this is a bug, and probably we should fix this. Let's take a look. So I guess we can. So now we have a work. Sorry about the plane again. These days, you know, I don't know why, flying a lot of planes around. So I'm gonna take a look at say the case where take a look at the code, see what's the difference between like a normal attribute versus like attribute that's binding for server-side rendering, and see maybe some of the things that is added over there but it's not over here for the binding case. And so yeah, we'll see we'll compare the difference and see what we can do over here. Right, so for server-side rendering, we are at the source compiler render SSR handle element. So this file is handling like the server-side rendering for elements and attributes. So you can see here on top you have looping through attributes and have various if-else cases for different kind of attributes, say maybe for name, text area, yeah, things like that, right? So I'm presuming so this is value for text area, is true, Boolean attribute. Some cases, I guess we are at the last. I don't know. I mean. Okay, how about this? So I don't really know I can't really tell from reading over like this. Let's take a look at the compiled code and then maybe compare a difference and see maybe what's different, right? So if you have value equals angle, and the bundle will look something like this, right? So we just build for value equals to 0. So what we're gonna find is the place where it says value. Okay, value angle, right? I believe this is what we're looking for. Add attribute value angle 0. Okay, so attribute is a function that returns a string. We have some checks, and maybe because of this, some reason this check you returns an empty string, or else you return the name and then equals to something. Okay, so this condition. Okay, so let's take a look at how I'm gonna copy some of this out, so that, or rather the whole file out, right? So that you can compare later on and see what's the difference, right? So I am going to change my code to bind value to angle, and now I'm going to build again. Okay, we are done, and let's take a look at this bundle. So input type, number, attribute, okay, we still have add attributes, value, angle. Okay, this is 1. Okay, so the only difference I can see here is that add attribute value angle is 1, and in the other case we have 0, right? We have and the order is different as well. But I don't think order matters in this case, right? But the most important fact is that 1 and 0, right? Because if you take a look at attribute, which is this function, right? Which is this function over here. See that this is 1 or 0, right? So in our case where binding case, it says 1. So boolean is 1 is truthy, and not value, right? Value is 0, so it's not 0 is true as well. So that's why I guess this is the reason where it's returning an empty string over here, right? So we can verify that by what I usually do is come over here, attribute, come on this function, add something, right? Add some console logs, boolean, so boolean and value, right? And I don't have to build because I'm just changing the bundle, right? So if I build, it will just override this. I'm just one great thing about having your own setup like this is you can change the bundle.js directly and then just run it. You don't have to build anything, and so we can play around with the bundle compile code. So here returns true, right? Returns true, which means that wait, what returns true? Let's say name, and so value is true, right? So that's why value returns empty string. So you don't have value attributes. So we're gonna take a look at why here we are passing 0 for add attributes, and in our normal attribute case, it's passing 0, right? So now we know like what is the compile code that does the difference, and we reverse search that, so we find out where we add this add attribute in our source code. So it's easier for us to find it that way, right? Because over here there's so many logics that I don't even know like what contributes to the code that we see just now. So to search for so you see that add attribute is like a utility function over here, like something like this. So how it works in the source code is that you can search for add an attribute. So if you search from the source file, probably find 2 instances, right? 1 and 2. Okay, interesting. So here, this is where we have looping through attribute cases, right? So in the attribute case, you have attribute name, snippet, and a condition. Boolean attribute has name, it's 1 or 0, right? And another case where we have add attribute is here. It says bindings, and it's always 1. Okay. I'm not sure whether it's on purpose. So that you have to figure out. Maybe it's something that this check was added later on, and this was left out, and we didn't know, right? And maybe that's why we need to update this as well. So How do we figure this out? Let's see. So here, let's take a look at the blame. Okay, so here I'm using git length. So if I hover over like an end, you see a grayish part. It show me what commit has made changes on this line of code. It's me, but I didn't change the logic over here, right? It looks almost the same except that attribute.name attribute name, right? So I'm using a VS Code with a git length extension. So there's two buttons that I usually use. One is this, which links me to the GitHub page for this commit, and yeah, I can see what other changes adding to it. And this one is open a blame prior to this change, right? Meaning if I click here, it will lead me to this view where it's a git blame view. You can see all the blames, as well as this is the version of this file prior to that commit. So we are at 8dd9c1b, right? So before that change, this conditions is already here, so it must have been added earlier on. So let's come over here and take a look at this git commits that makes that did git blame on this line. Again, this is not making any changes to the condition. You can see that yeah, the changes was applied on the name itself. So I click on the git blame again, prior change. Again, you can see this version, yeah, as we said, changes was made over here. So however, take a look at, again, git blame, the version before. Let's just try this one. The condition is still here. If you scroll down, you can still see that this is still 1. This is still with a condition. So I'm not sure whether this is added together or this itself alone was added after the line over here that fixes for the attribute but not for the binding, right? So I guess you can just keep going one step back. Let's see. So one step back. So you can see here, yes, definitely this is self-add attribute. This changes added the condition, right? So if you click on this prior, let's see, there's no prior. So this file was created anew, right? Together with all these changes over here, right? So let's open this up on in the browser. Let's open up the browser. You can see that it says move render logic into a separate phase. Let's see. So let's find our file. Our file name is C elements.ts, right? So let's see, render SSR element.ts. Right, so apparently everything was added at this commit, right? And as you can see here, let's see, attributes. At this point, there's no add attributes, right? So let's maybe it's not this commit. So let's go back a bit. Omit. Okay, so I think I want is this one, right? This commit. So I'm gonna open. There's a few commits in here, and I believe it's this. This was the one that supposed to be looking at. Okay, let's. So I guess everything was combined into one, maybe of some rebasing or some merging happening. So I'm gonna click on the this link. This should be the... Whoa, I gotta say this is quite messed up. I'm not even sure what is this issue about. Let's back up a bit. Let's go back. Let's figure out again. I was trying to trace back all the way to find out like when this changes was added, and was this condition was added after or together. So like, are they doing together, or like it's fixed one side or the other, or I try to understand like what the history of this thing. And it seems like the git blimp in the VS Code is a bit messed up. So we ran into a dead end over there that leads us to an open issue, and I'm not sure what was that issue even about. Doesn't feel related to our issue at all. So maybe something's wrong with VS Code. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try a different approach, similar approach but on a different UI. So I'm going to use git lens again to copy remote file URL. Meaning if now the URL is in my clipboard, I'm going to paste it in. This will lead me to the same file, right? Except it's on a GitHub UI. Same thing, highlight this line, right? This line of code is what we're looking for. So I'm going to turn on blame mode, which is similar to the VS Code. Again, it will show me like what is the blame for this line of code. And this UI view blame prior to this change is similar. Should lead us to the same place. So I'm going to click it and see whether it leads to a different place. But at the same time, I also want to look at this commit, right? Omit falsy boolean attribute. So I'm going to click on this on a new tab. Let's see what leads us to the prior change, right? So I'm going to search for add attribute. Yes, this does not have the condition, right? At the same time, this does not have it as well. So most likely it's added on that commit saying omit falsy boolean attributes, right? So if you come over here and see here as well, it says omit falsy boolean attributes. It says 1 at here. So most likely this commit is the one that adds the condition. So it's yeah, and it's right. It's this commit, omit falsy boolean attributes, added condition over here for normal attributes, but here as 1 for the binding. The commit itself does not explain why. Nothing much we can find out from here. Also at the same time, it makes these changes in the SSR file that supports a third argument, right? So that's the one that we are passing in. Doesn't explain much in this commit as well. Commit message just omit falsy boolean attributes. So here it says this has been merged into the master branch, right? Which is since very long time, right? I think it's added in the version 3.6.11 or something like that. And now we are at 3.38.3. So this is I believe this is the merge request that merged this commit in. So we're gonna jump into that and see anything we can find over here. Okay, so this is a following up work on some undefined class. So I'm not sure whether it's even related. So there's a few commits added, fix some SSR, test cases. Okay, doesn't seem like it's related. Maybe it's just yeah, this is mostly for the class names. So my judgment over here is that maybe the it's the omit boolean attribute comment thing maybe was added to over here to fix something, right? But then because that case, just think about attributes that is normal attributes, right? It does not test on the binding attribute. But if you're binding a value for input, or just pass in as a normal value attribute for the input, I think it suffice to say they should be treated as same thing, right? They should have the same behavior, right? They shouldn't be all treated as just like Boolean attributes, right? They should have this Boolean attributes check. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the change, right? So we go all the way down the rabbit hole, figure out that maybe it's just, yeah, it is by mistake, and we're gonna fix that. So I'm gonna first thing first, I'm gonna create a new branch, right? So I'm gonna come over here. Let's see what issue we are at. We are at 4551. So my personal habit is just create a new branch called GitHub issue 4551. So it's easy for me to find this issue out, right? Then the next thing is I'm gonna have this as a test case, so that so we write a test. So just now we were trying to just try it out ourselves, and it proves us that yes, it's not working. But now we want to write it down as a test case, and we verify that the test case failed before our fix, and our fix indeed fixed for that test case. Right, so I'm gonna come over here in the test server-side rendering samples. Hold on, let me find for a bind value in the test case. So maybe there is some yeah, or we already have like some tests, runtime tests, right? Runtime tests that already tests for binding value. So what I can do over here is see if there's something that we can some of the test case that sometimes some of the test case may disable test for SSR. So maybe we can look for those and see whether fix them as well. Does not. Okay, this one sounds related. It has a type range type value. Okay, so I guess this is also all because the initial value are something, they are not empty string. That's why this test pass, right? But not for our case. So let's quickly go. Sounds like most of the case it's okay. Okay, so input. This one is undefined input, so you get you don't have value attribute at all. So I guess what we can do here is we can create our new test, right? Just for the server-side rendering. Let's make sure that we have attribute. Let's see, there's a component binding attribute. Okay, I'm gonna say bindings. This one, right? Input bind value bindings. Empty string, and I'm gonna add .solo as a suffix, so that I'm gonna just run this test for now. In the main Svelte, I'm gonna say this is empty string, right? And let's see what's the expected HTML. It should be an empty string as well. So let's try to run this test. Yarn quick test. It's the quick way to run the test. And let's see what's the results. Results are in, and it failed, right? So the actual SSR output says input only. There's no value attributes, and yeah, why not just put an empty string? Of course, you say that a value that is empty does not have anything, right? Yeah, because the next thing we're gonna test is not just empty string. We also want to test for 0, right? 0. So now we have a value equals to 0, type a number. and expect it to be value equals 0 and type equals number. Let's just change everything to double quotes for consistency. So both of the test cases fail, right? So let's see how we can add that. So we're going to come over here to the elements. We are going to copy this condition. It says boolean attributes dot has name, right? This is the place. Just copy this whole thing. And I'm going to come down here in the bindings and replace it. Okay, let's try that again. So I have my yarn. I'm running a yarn dev in the background, so it's compiling my compiler every time when I make changes. Let's just yarn quick test. Oop. Yes, let's take a look, and it fixed, right? So I believe that's it. Just add this condition and it makes more sense to me now. Boolean attribute has names. Yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna save this. Before I'm gonna save, I am going to remove that solo so that when CI will run all the tests, not just the solo tests. And I am going to add all of them and gonna fix, what's this called? Fix input type range. Okay, so you may be asking, I'm using a type number, type range, do I test that? Yeah, so how about let's just test both just in case. So I'm gonna come over here, have another input type range. Although we kind of know that we make changes checking like whether value is a boolean attribute, it's not gonna do anything with the range, right? But yeah, just test it. There's no harm testing more. So let's just range. Again, yarn quick test. Verify the test works. Does, and yay. Hurrah! So I'm gonna revert this change. Gonna add everything. Fix input value 0 for SSR. Okay, I am gonna push the changes and gonna make a merge request, and that's it. So create a new pull request. And that's when why I use my branch name GH4551. It's useful for me because I can now say that it's gonna close issue 4551 without having to search for what is that issue name. Okay, I'm not making big changes. Don't need RFC. All the tests pass. Okay, and I guess that's it. I'm gonna create this pull request and wait for review. Okay, that's it. That's it for this issue. Thank you for watching. Hope if you have new issues coming up, we are going to fix them, right? We will figure that out together. Yay. So see ya.